Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Dreary Midnight Podcast. My name is Lisa. My pronouns are she, they.
My name is Celeste. My pronouns are she, her.
And what are we talking about tonight, Celeste?
Tonight, we're going to talk about the unexplained.
Just like generally?
That's very vague.
Yeah.
Basically, the other night I was perusing on Reddit, as one does.
As one does.
And I came across the subreddit r/unexplained.
Love it.
Most of it is videos of people, not people, but like videos that people have taken that are like, hey, I caught this on camera. What is this?
Oh, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Like, I can't explain it, therefore it's unexplained. Can someone else try and figure it out?
And some of it is kind of creepy.
Okay.
And some of it is just weird.
Okay.
But even though a lot of it is video format, there's also stories that people post, like written stories.
Okay.
And I read some, and I was like, these are too good to not share.
All right. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Intro music.
Intro music.
And top of the show, plug for Patreon, because the patrons know what's going to be starting next week. We're so excited. We just finished recording some of it today. Mm-hmm. It's going to be so good.
It's
I'm so
long
excited.
Project, but
editing Lisa has so many headaches, but the listeners are gonna love it to death.
Dude,
I hope.
I listened to a snippet of it because Lisa played some for me. I was so pumped, dude. It's better than I could have imagined.
Yeah. And it was Celeste's idea, so that's like a high bar. So, r/unexplained.
Yeah. So, r/unexplained, some of these are a little supernatural, some of these are just like glitch in the matrix, some of these are kind of weird.
Okay.
I have a few stories lined up. So let's just see how many we can get through.
All right.
So, I'm going to be just reading them verbatim.
Okay.
And I'll say when they've been posted too.
Cool.
Just because.
Also, Reddit will often time it as like 1 year ago, 6 months ago, whatever. So for time reference for that, we are recording end of November of 2024.
So, it was from 1 year ago. It's
called fall of 2023.
Yeah. Feeling death inside a house immediately. My wife and agent thought I was crazy. Has to leave. So.
Do tell.
Anyone ever get that feeling? We were house shopping in Florida, under the gun to buy a house with timing. We saw 4 houses that day, and this was the last one. Mm-hmm. It checked every box. Bedrooms, location, everything. My wife loved it before even seeing it. As soon as we walked in, I felt a strong, ominous feeling. I can't explain it other than death, like a dark presence. Within 5 minutes, I was telling the agent and my wife, this can't work. We have 2 younger daughters as well. I felt like my daughters would die in that house or something really bad would happen. To this day, I've never felt that. I've been a contractor for 15 years and been in hundreds of houses. Did anyone ever get that feeling? We didn't buy the house. I even walked out and walked around the neighborhood. As my wife was thinking I was crazy, I came back and it was worse. I had to leave immediately. Honestly, felt like I was in a empty, dark hospital waiting for death. Just a weird feeling. Am I crazy?
Huh.
Right?
I mean, I can't say that I've experienced that in particular, but if that particular house is giving you that kind of vibe, like, it could tick all of your boxes, but, like, if I didn't know I needed to have, do I have an impending sense of doom in this house, to the list of things to think about if and when we move, but, you know, good to know that I have to put that on the negative list because, well, I mean, honestly, though, when we were looking around at apartments last year, there were 1 or 2... Like, there was one in particular, it was the cheapest one that we were looking at, the one that was, like, most securely in our budget, but it was, like, this post-war bachelor pad type of thing that hadn't been updated Like, the building was constructed, I want to say, in, like, the 50s, and it felt like it hadn't been updated since it was a bachelor pad in 1952. So even though it was well in our budget, it was just, like, it was dark. There was, like, no closet space. As you say, well, not necessarily, like, an impending sense of doom, like, one of us is gonna die here or something. But it was still just, like, this... Even though this is the one that is the most securely in our budget, we have to rule this one out specifically because of whatever this vibe is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once went apartment hunting with a friend of mine, and I swear to God, one of the apartments was like a closet. It was like...
That's what this one kind of felt like.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
And it's interesting because we went to one other apartment in that same complex, and it's like low-rise apartments. It's like 3 floors of walk-ups, and so we toured like a mirror unit, like the next building over, like that first one was, let's say, 301, and the next one we looked at was like 202 or something like that, but completely different energy. Like basically the mirror, but like none of that weird dark feeling. And it was like weird. It was only $75 more, so it wasn't like there was it wasn't like that first one was surely in our budget because somebody died or something. It's
just a vibe.
Yeah.
There was somebody who commented on this post saying, I used to be an REA agent. Once I was with buyers looking at homes. After seeing a few homes that day, we walked into an older house and I immediately started coughing violently. I couldn't catch my breath. It felt like breathing in a rubbing alcohol or something similarly potent. No one else was affected. I went outside to get some fresh air. The others were very concerned and confused, as was I. I went back in thinking maybe I just had a coughing spell. As soon as I walked back inside, same thing. Violently coughing again. I stayed outside as the others viewed the house. It was so odd. I couldn't understand what was happening. I later found out details about the previous owners. Husband killed the wife by choking her inside the house.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
Was that the only femme in that group? Do they know?
I don't know for
Did
sure.
They say?
I mean, it's Reddit, so I can't. I mean, maybe see if there's any comments.
They might disclose it themselves. I don't know.
Its page isn't working.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to assume though that.
Yeah.
I mean, at least even if they're not the only ones in the group, I have to assume that they're at least feminine presenting. Because,
yeah. Especially if they're the only ones who are getting that kind of feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next story. What you got?
All right. This was also posted a year ago.
So fall of 2023.
It is called Dimes in Dryer.
Okay, go on.
I feel like I'm losing my mind and I need someone's insight.
Okay.
I legitimately have never felt so insane in my entire life. For about 6 weeks to 2 months, I have been finding a dime in every single load of laundry that I do. Every single load.
That's weird.
My partner and I rarely use cash, and if we do, we absolutely do not stick the change in our pocket. I can say this with 100% certainty. My fiance religiously donates it to the take a penny, leave a penny type of thing that is always at checkouts or leaves it on tables, etc. if we're eating out, because he refuses to carry it around in his pocket. I have a dump truck of a purse and just throw everything in there. It is always a dime, never ever any other denomination. It has gotten to the point where I have broken down into tears because I literally feel like I'm going insane. I asked my partner to record an entire cycle of laundry for me, prior to which we checked all pockets and crevices, and there were no coins. Just because I seriously questioned if I was having an actual mental episode for the first time in my life. Still, at the end of the drying cycle, there was a dime. We have done loads of laundry that are just linens, not clothing, still always a dime. I don't know why this never occurred to me before, but after telling my best friend how insane this was making me, she asked me what the years on them were. I looked and every single one is 2023. Every single one for almost 2 months is 2023.
The same year that this was posted.
Yes.
So brand new dimes every time for like all year.
Yes.
Or for 2 months-ish.
We moved into this house prior to 2023, so it's not like a previous tenant left some random roll of dimes in the laundry and they were just spewing out each load. Which was my first thought.
Yeah, same. Or like the last person somehow hoarded dimes and nothing else. And then, yeah. But if they moved in like 2022 or earlier,
exactly,
and this is just starting within the last few months, that's so weird.
We have taken apart and inspected every inch of both washer and dryer. There's nothing. We do not have an attic or basement or crawl space. There isn't anyone secretly living in the home. I thought my fiancé might have been pulling a bizarre prank on me, but after breaking down into tears over how crazy this stupid thing makes me feel, I can clearly tell he also has no idea what's going on. The breaking point came tonight when my fiancé found not one, but 3 dimes in the dryer.
Oh my god.
Prior to which we only had found 2 in the washer, so one just magically spawned.
Okay.
I am absolutely losing my mind over this stupid thing, and I need to hear from literally anyone with any sort of insight.
That is so weird. Because I feel like it would be one thing if it's like, if it's a full spectrum of years, because there's a full spectrum of years.
Than dimes, like pennies and stuff.
Yeah. Or like there's a full spectrum of years in all sorts of random change. So if it's the weird part one is that they like checked all of the pockets and everything.
Part 2 is it's not random.
Yeah. And it's specifically brand new dimes. It's not like you get a 2023 one, but you also get a 1985 one and like a 2012 one and a 2000 one and like a couple of quarters from 1917 or not 1917, but you know
1970.
But yeah, that's so weird.
I know.
That's so weird.
A lot of the comments basically are saying that people who have passed on sometimes send dimes.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. But like I'm doing like a save the change challenge this year, like save a little bit of money every time you get a coins back, you just budget it as like the next dollar up. Just this year, a penny from 2006. What's this one? A quarter from 2008.
Yeah.
A dime from, I can't read the year on this one.
Let me see.
But and another penny from 1981. Like another penny from 1997.
Dime is from 1991, I think.
That's a very shiny one from 1991. Here's one from 2020, a dime from 2020.
1999.
Okay. Here's another dime from 2018. Like, here's another a nickel from.
It's like.
And this is just like on the top from. Yeah. And
dimes into her.
Specifically a brand new roll of dimes. Because again, all of the ones we just read off are change that I've gotten in the last also like 2-ish months.
Yeah.
So.
Weird.
Yeah, that's so weird.
So somebody in the afterlife is trying to contact this girl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sort of tangentially to what you had said earlier, did she lose anyone important in her life in the last few months? Or, I don't know if it's she. But did this person leave or lose anybody important?
As far as I can see, I don't see any replies from the OP. Oh, well, people are asking like maybe a loved one that's passed away, sort of thing, but
yeah.
Okay, so she replied, the only loved one I had passed away was 10 years ago.
Also in the fall, or like, if it's posted in November of.
I have a nephew named exactly after him. Today is his 7th birthday. I've never heard this theory or put the dots together, but I'm in shambles over this. I cannot wrap my logical mind around how these things could be connected.
That's sad.
Yeah.
All right.
Does the dime signify 10 years passed away? Is what another person said. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I could believe that theory if they say if this person died in like September of 2013. Like, but then even then you would think they would start be spewing out 2013 dimes.
Fair.
Anyway, I am not the one to dictate the rules of personal symbolism. So.
Okay. This one is also from a year ago.
Okay.
This one's shorter.
Hang on.
It's called I Still Don't Understand.
Okay.
About 9 months ago, I took a nap with my 3-month-old daughter beside me. As we sleep on my bed, I heard a male voice telling me to look at my daughter. My husband was at work, so it was just me and her alone. As I woke up, I found my daughter beside me, on her back, her head stuck between the mattress and the wall. She didn't make a sound, and she almost broke her neck. Fortunately, something or someone woke me up. To this day, I still don't understand what that voice was who saved my daughter's life.
That's so scary.
I know. So there's a couple comments that are similar. There's one that said, when I was in college, I was driving on the freeway minding my own business. I heard a voice very clearly say, "Go to your grandmother's house." Mm-hmm. I replied, "What?" The voice repeated itself, but added, "Right now." At the end, I listened to it. When I got there, my grandmother was having a medical event, and I was able to intervene. Probably think about this day every day for the last 20 years.
Damn.
So people just be hearing voices. I would be freaked out.
Yeah.
And
I mean, part of me is like, would be worried for my own health.
I know.
If I've suddenly started hearing voices from nowhere, like, I've engaged in enough mental health shit to know, or to, like, start to be worried about my own health.
But that's the thing. Even if it's your own brain, how does your own brain know?
What do you mean?
To go to your grandmother's house.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And then there's this other comment. I really like this. When I was a young mother with 2 young children, my husband and I moved into a mobile home in the California mountains. Mm. The first night there, I was awakened by a loud fire alarm. Mm. I shot out of bed and checked on my 3-year-old in the next room. She was fine. The alarm had stopped. I looked around the house and saw no signs of fire, but I noticed the smell of gas. Mm. I woke my husband, and although he could not smell it, he turned the gas off. Mm. When the gas man came the next day, he told me it was such a bad leak that we would not be alive had we not turned off the gas. But here's the kicker. The house had no alarm. Right.
That one scares me so much, though, because, like, this is apartment's gas powered, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm always terrified. Every time I go to sleep, I have to make sure the stove isn't on.
Yeah.
Every time I leave the house, I have to make sure the stove isn't on.
Yeah.
Because my apartment, and the appliances were different, and there was nobody living here. But apparently in my apartment, there was a gas leak before the tenant that was before us moved in. So I'm just terrified, like, what if it happens again? But there's actually people living here now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, general PSA, double check all of your appliances are in good working order.
Exactly. And double check your fire alarm.
Yeah. Double check your fire alarm. Double check your smoke alarm. Maybe check if you have a carbon monoxide alarm. Because apparently carbon monoxide poisoning can lead to some kind of health events, just generally, and it starts with, like, either hallucinating or, like, missing a whole lot of things randomly out of nowhere. So check your monoxide levels. PSA for your health. Anyway,
okay,
that is so wild, though.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That I read that one aloud to James. I was like, I love your to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. This one was posted 2 days ago.
Okay.
This is...
So literally, what, like today's the 24th, so like the 22nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is labeled Strange Singing Mermaid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, 14-year-old from New Zealand here. Before my parents split up... I'm not going to do the New Zealand accent.
Yeah.
Before my parents split up, we used to live in a mini mansion near a man-made lake. It had a massive garden and was surrounded by land with some water and lots of wild ducks. When my brother was still a toddler, before I was born, he fell into one of these lakes and nearly drowned. If it weren't for my uncle who saw him, he would have died. When he got pulled out of the water, he was talking about some naked fish lady or something that was there staring at him. Everyone being shocked about what had happened didn't bat an eye about this lady, just made sure that he was okay. A few years later, when I was like 3 and my sister was around 11... I was like 3 and my sister was around 11. She would occasionally complain to my parents about this lady who would visit her sometimes at nights. She was always wet, naked, and something to do with being aquatic.
That's a weird description.
She also mentioned that sometimes the husband showed up, but was not very nice and she didn't really like him. When this woman wasn't visiting, she would be somewhere singing. Every single night, my sister would talk about hearing singing, and the neighbors' kids would also mention it. My parents thought the kids were just trying to scare them, so they didn't really care. This is the part that freaks me out. Fast forward to when I'm like 12. We get in contact with the people who now own that house, as we moved out a long time ago. We never had mentioned this mermaid lady to them. But as we were leaving and saying our goodbyes, they start talking about this lady who sings and visits them at the nighttime, who's always wet and is like a fish. We have never been able to figure this out, as there's no way they could have known about how we used to see things like that. It's the same house just 10 to 15 years later. Does anyone have any ideas what this could be?
That's so weird.
Right? So, apparently, there's a legend in New Zealand. It's called the Taniwha.
Okay.
They're the guardians of the ocean, rivers, and lakes.
Okay.
And they make loud noises that can be perceived as singing or wailing.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe.
That's weird. That is really weird.
I thought that was a fun.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first thing that I read that I was like, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is an interesting subreddit.
Yeah.
This one was posted 2 months ago.
Okay.
It said, Phantom Vibrate saved my life.
What?
Yeah. So, this was about a year ago, and it felt like it was time to share the story.
Okay.
So, I live in a pretty rural part of Northern California.
Okay.
My wife was about 5 or 6 months pregnant at the time, and she asked me to take her for a drive so she can get some fresh air. Okay, no big deal. Happy wife, happy life.
Okay.
We're on the back road by some strawberry fields and stop by a 4-way stop.
Okay.
I look both ways and it's clear. So I'm about to hit the gas, but I feel a buzzing in my pocket. So I stop the car again and look at my phone.
Okay.
I had no notifications or anything. Like the buzzing didn't even happen. It's weird. Just as I pulled out my phone, this green 90s Toyota Corolla comes speeding down the intersection going at least 70 miles an hour and blew through the stop sign.
Oh my God.
If I had not looked at my phone, then I would for sure have been hit or killed even, and my wife seriously hurt.
Wow.
I'm not sure if it's just a coincidence or an act of God, but either way, I'm very grateful for it happening, and it made me feel like it wasn't my time yet.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Good grief.
I know.
Right? Oh my God.
Like, everyone is saying it's like guardian angel type.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So I thought that was creepy and weird.
Yeah. That's wild. Oh my God.
It's good.
It's so good.
Okay. I have two more stories. These are a little longer.
Okay.
But they're worth it.
All right. Hit me with it.
Okay. This one was posted a year ago.
Okay. So November of 2023.
It said, I knew my mom was dead when things in my house started happening.
Go on.
Buckle in.
All right.
Bit of a backstory. When I was about 10, my mother started experimenting with drugs. They ended up tearing my childhood apart.
Yeah, I bet.
Around age 12, I had to resort to stealing food from friends, stealing money, and just in general had it really rough. I moved out at 15, but this isn't about me. Before age 10, my life was pretty good. Normal even. After the drugs, my mom changed and I never saw that version of her again. Our relationship was as good as it could have been. I still looked at her as my mom and she loved me as her son. Addiction is a bitch. When she was high, she was just sketchy. But sometimes she would have these weird snaps of total lucidity and intelligence, borderline prophetic. Now, anyone who knows a drug addict knows that they say some pretty out there shit.
Yeah.
She was no different.
Okay.
But anyone who knows will also know that they will sometimes be them again for snapshots of time. I was 25 and I hadn't gone to her house in about a year. She invited me over to have dinner. I could tell right away that she was high, but I didn't want to embarrass her, so I just enjoyed myself and made her know that I was appreciative. During dinner, as I was in the middle of telling her about my work, she cut me off and said, I'll drop the guitar. To which I said, sorry, you dropped a guitar? And she says, hey, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. You just said something about my guitar. I said again, honey, I didn't say anything. I was listening about your job. I didn't think much of it. Life for both of us went on as normal. On my 30th birthday, she phoned to catch up and give me my birthday wishes. The conversation wasn't a good one. She started crying, was apologetic, and just not doing well. While I was talking her down and consoling her, she said in that same tone, I hope the TV doesn't break. To which, again, I replied with confusion. Again, she didn't believe me when I asked her what she meant. When I was 29, her addiction had hit a point where I had to finally just distance myself. I didn't talk to her until I was 32.
So like 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I called her just to make sure she was okay. The conversation was sad, as she acted like time didn't exist and that we never had any fights or anything. Her mind was just gone, replaced by the worst type of addict. As I was wrapping up the call, she said, I'm just really sorry about the smell. I can't fucking help it. But this time she sounded so sad, like one of the saddest tones I've ever heard, and I don't know why.
That's so weird. And also kind of sad.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
In April 2022, I hadn't spoken to her in years. I was about to head to a friend's place with my wife, and as we were heading out the door, we heard a loud bang from our spare room. When I went in, I found my guitar, which is a wall-mounted Les Paul, heavy guitar for those who don't play, across the room. While it definitely spooked me, it wasn't until the drive when my wife said, hey, didn't your mom say something about a guitar years ago? Which got me a bit, I don't know, weirded out.
Yeah.
Well,
so there's the guitar, there's the TV, and there's the
smell.
When
we got home, I tried to call her to see if she'd remember. No answer. The next day, I'm gaming in the living room with my wife, and my TV just falls directly forward.
Oh my God.
This is a 4-legged, 30-pound TV on a flat surface. No wind, no kids, no pets. It just fell. A few days go by, and as my wife and I were dead asleep, we both shot up wide awake to the sound of a loud bang from the side room, followed by what sounded like a couple foot stomps. I checked the room. The guitar again was across the room, but this time I was legitimately scared as I made absolutely sure that it was mounted. It just wasn't possible.
Well, and also if it's this heavy guitar on the wall, like...
And it's not just like falling like as if the mounting broke.
Yeah.
It's like across the room.
Yeah. Because if the mounting had broken or something, gravity, something, you would think it would be at maximum like a foot or two from the wall.
Exactly.
Right? But not on the other side. Yeah. That's so weird.
And he didn't say that the mount broke. It was just the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the guitar jumped out and went on the other side. Yeah.
That Friday, I get a call from my brother. The police called him and let him know that she had died.
Wow.
I flew back home to take care of whatever came next. I was the only person since the police/hazmat services to enter the house. Turns out she had been dead for 3 weeks in the home.
Oh, wow.
The smell is something that I will never, ever be able to erase from my memory.
I've heard that a lot from, like, people who apparently clean up crime scenes. It's like, it's a very particular sort of smell that is... I mean, obviously, most smells are their own complete unique thing, but, like...
Yeah.
But, like, floral smells, there's little variations, but you can kind of say, oh, it smells like this other thing, or it smells like this. But, like, corpse smell is apparently its own category.
Oh. I'm not a superstitious person. I wasn't raised with that type of stuff. My life has taught me to be real, see real, and rely on things I can objectively prove. I didn't know where else to post this, but the unexplained nature of these drug-fueled, nearly prophetic premonitions about her own death and how she will let me know has forever changed me, explained or not.
That is so weird. Oh my God.
Yeah. This one is so creepy.
Okay. Hit me with it.
This is also a year ago.
All right.
My boyfriend saw something he can't explain, and neither can I.
Dun, dun, dun.
This story isn't a joke. Trust me, I thought it was at first too. My boyfriend, 18 male, saw something he can't explain. It was New Year's Eve, and he was driving home after our date night, so it was around 1 a.m.
Okay.
I was laying in bed scrolling on my phone when I got a call from him. I didn't think anything of it, assuming he was calling because he was bored on his drive home or something.
Wait, so this person, the boyfriend, drove them home, dropped them off,
and
they're
then
scrolling
back.
They're scrolling in bed or whatever, and they get the notification from the boyfriend.
They get a call
while they're home, and the boyfriend's like on the red still. Okay.
Yeah. I answered kind of half asleep, when he told me he just saw something terrifying and he didn't know what to do.
Okay.
He said, listen, I know this sounds insane and I can't tell anyone else because no one will believe me, but I'm scared.
I mean, you don't want to see anything when you're driving home at like 1:30 in the morning,
No.
but okay.
Something you should know about my boyfriend is he does not get scared often. He's rational. He views everything with statistics and science. He doesn't believe in the paranormal. I thought he was just fucking with me. He was trying to scare me or something. I told him to explain what happened.
Okay.
I was driving down the interstate and I saw this deer, but it wasn't a deer. It was fucking huge. At first, I thought it was just a really big deer. But as I got closer, I realized deer don't get that big. Elk don't even get that big. It was at this point I realized he was telling the truth. His voice was shaking and he was talking frantically. I've never heard him that scared before. He continued. It was hunched over. It looked like a man, a really big man, and it had deer antlers and fur all over it. I thought I was tweaking until I looked in my rear view mirror after I drove past it, and it was still there and other cars were swerving away from it. I know.
It's the other cars for me.
I know, that's why.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, usually it'd be like 18 years old. Did you just like, what did you really have at the New Year's?
Exactly.
Right? But it's 1:30 on New Year's. So other people are going to be heading home by that point. Like,
and other cars are swerving.
Yeah.
The exact same way. And he can still, it's not even like I thought I saw it and I drove past. And he saw it from his rear view mirror.
Because there are going to be other cars also with their headlights on. So you could definitely illuminate. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. This is so creepy. Okay.
Yeah.
That night he didn't sleep. He kept a loaded gun by his bed and watched the security cameras around his house all night. I would too.
Yeah.
Last night we were talking about it again. As he was talking, his eyes were darting around. He would check behind us every 30 seconds or so. He gave me a better description of it. It stood about 8 feet tall. It looked like a man hunched over with his hands on the ground. It had a human face and massive deer antlers. Standing upright, it probably would have been about 12 feet tall. It was covered in fur and stood deer-like. It was standing on the side of the interstate, just watching the cars go by. Here's where shit gets wild, as if it wasn't already wild.
Okay.
His house is about a mile from the interstate, some woods separating them. He's explored these woods before. He was telling me about a bridge in the woods that he's explored before, and it shouldn't technically be there. Every bridge in the state of Kentucky is registered with a serial number. This one wasn't. He described that it looked like brand new. There was no rust. The stone and metal was pristine. There was no graffiti. Under the bridge, there was a tunnel. This tunnel would logically be a drainage tunnel, but it was always bone dry. He doesn't know how long it is, but he knows it's at least 2 miles long. He said it has been a couple years since he's been there and doesn't want to go back. He thinks that thing that he saw is from there. He said bridges are supposed to be registered, but it isn't in the Kentucky registry. Everything about the bridge is just wrong, and something about it reminded him of the thing we saw on the interstate.
Yeah, because it's two things
that don't belong.
That don't belong and have the appearance of being correct, but are not actually correct.
You know that's my favorite type of horror, dude. He told me there's only one other experience in his life that was like this one. Right when he turned 17, and he was out hunting alone in the woods. If you've ever been hunting before, you can see the woods wake up around you. As the sun rises, the birds wake up, the squirrels come out and run around, the deer come out for dinner since they're nocturnal. He told me this time, nothing was there. The birds weren't chirping. There was nothing in sight. The leaves were still. There was no wind. Everything was dead silent except the sound of his own breath.
That's even creepier.
It was around noon, and he decided something was off and left to go home. He told me he didn't think much of it then, but now it genuinely scares him to think of that day. Has anyone ever seen anything like this before? I don't know if it was a Wendy boy or someone pulling a prank, but I know I've never heard my boyfriend sound like this before. I believe him. I believe there was something there that night that is unexplainable, and I need someone to confirm we aren't crazy. I just need some sort of explanation. And then there's 3 edits here.
I don't think Wendigo go that far south. Apparently,
Kentucky.
the plural of Wendigo is Wendigoic.
Wendigoic.
Because turns out not everything pluralizes the same way that English does.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I didn't. So Wendigo is an Algonquian myth, and we're based in northern.
They're northern.
Yeah, so we're based in Northern Virginia, and
this story is.
The story is from Kentucky, but I'll leave the exact link in the show notes. But there's a really cool map online that shows like where on the continent certain tribes tended to be. And if I recall the map correctly, it's an Algonquian myth, and we're almost as far south as the Algonquians were.
Oh.
So, and Kentucky's even further south than where we are. So I don't know if it was.
Well, there's a couple edits here.
Okay.
This edit says, I'm starting to believe what he saw was a knot deer. We talked about it, and I was telling him what a knot deer was, and he said it could be it.
What is a knot deer?
A knot deer, I looked it up. It's basically a cryptid in the Appalachian, I never know how to pronounce Appalachian region that is like a deer, but not. But most of the time, the way that it's described is, you know how deers have their eyes on the sides of their heads?
Yeah.
The knot deer has the eyes on the front like a predator. Yeah.
But
and
still like the snout shape and everything? Or
yeah, according to the cryptid thing that I looked up. But like sometimes it walks on its hind legs.
So
okay. Like, you know, it's basically...
So it could well be it's like an adaptation of a Wendigo or something.
Basically.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of like European, I don't want to say bastardization, but like whatever 1 or 2 steps milder than bastardization is. But yeah,
it could be that. Yeah. And then there's another edit that says, for those saying it could have been a person pulling a prank or a person in a costume, it was 28 degrees at 1 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly though, if you're pulling shenanigans because it's 1 a.m. and New Year's or whatever, like you're gonna pull your shenanigans downtown where people can see you.
Exactly. Not in like this back road or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the r/unexplained.
All right.
If you want a good time, go to Reddit, type it in, and you can also see some like weird freaky videos and stuff.
If you have your own story that you want to share, send us an email. We could do our own sort of unexplained special at some point if people have enough weird unexplained shit that they want to talk about. Would love to do a real spooky stories of listeners.
That, exactly.
Yes. Is that all we have for now?
That's all we have for now.
So if you have your own explanation for whatever that last thing was, send us an email, drearymidnightpodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to hear a couple more of these stories,
follow us on Patreon. Starting at $3 a month, you'll get the bonus content, including a couple more from r/unexplained. So starting from $3 a month, that is patreon.com/drearymidnight. If you want to follow us on socials, find out what the Dreary December special is, we're at instagram.com/drearymidnight. Are we Dreary
Midnight Pod?
Dreary Midnight Pod. With all of that said, this holiday season, go to bed at a reasonable hour so you don't get followed home by whatever that was. And even if you do stay out late, safe travels home on this dreary midnight. Good night.
Good night.